Hey, this is Claire from Penn Entertainment.
And this is Ben Goldman from Penn Media Entertainment Music Network.com.
No one knows where Ben's from, but welcome nevertheless.
And we're here at the Astros Stadium watching the final game of the World Series.
With Ben's cat Mew, who has been able to sit through this entire freaking match game, whatever it's called.
Match game, baseball match.
I've been to a baseball.
Who's your favorite baseball squad, Claire?
I'm a New Yorker, and we cut right there so that I don't lose anybody.
So which New York team?
I can't tell you.
Ooh. Anyways, we're not here to talk about baseball. We're here to talk about America's #1 pastime, Survivor.
It's not America's #1 pastime, but we do have two heavily contested teams this season on Survivor, both of which have played out in very different ways. Last week, they did a major shift. They had a
cat bloopers! Cat bloopers, guys! Claire's bringing us cat bloopers.
There was a huge change in the dynamics with the teams when they split Vokai and Lyro. And, I mean, look, I hated last week's episode. I absolutely hated it. They totally stacked the teams. Lyro sucks. Vokai was definitely always going to do better in the challenges. It was guaranteed. But they also had the more aggressive players. So, this week was really interesting to see how Lyro kind of stepped up its game and surprisingly won a challenge. It was like a huge upset because Vokai was like, oh yeah, we're super athletic, we're gonna win these challenges, everybody's doing great. They weren't worried at all, and all of a sudden, now somebody from Vokai is up for...
Oh, and the best part is Lyro, we say they won this challenge, but they didn't win it handedly. They were doing awful at the basic physical part of the challenge. When they had to move the cage around, they couldn't even figure out who was supposed to stay in the different corners and stuff. It was like they were going to get their asses kicked.
Yeah, what's terrible about Lyro, but probably actually, if somebody stepped up their game in Lyro, they would actually have a really easy time, I think, playing everyone else in the tribe, because they're so disjointed and fractured at this point. If somebody actually stepped up and showed leadership, that would be a game changer.
Well, we did find out that Lyro's pretty good at basketball, though, because they had to make those pretty high three-point shots over the cage and just nailed them.
Jamal actually really,
killed
through. Dean's actually...
He got the final shot, right?
Yeah,
Dean got the final shot.
The final shot, but then last week he was also the person who had to throw stuff into hoops or whatever. He's a D1 basketball player.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's why he's been taking those roles, is because he used to be a Division I basketball player, and the fact that he hasn't totally shown through in those challenges is definitely an upset. They say that they're keeping him on. They eliminated his showman's partner, Chelsea, last week, but they say that they're keeping Dean on for his...
Showmans.
That's what people are calling it.
Showmans. That's so funny.
Yeah. But they say that they're keeping Dean on because he's a young physical person.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
But he hasn't shown up, so we'll see.
But let's get on to what happened after the challenge was over, though. And let's not forget, who was it that got sent to Island of the Idols this time? I believe it was Mrs. Elaine.
So Elaine has
Let's tell them about what the Island Challenge was.
I mean, Elaine has always been somebody to watch, but when she goes to Island of the Idols with Rob, Boston Rob, and Sandra, they present this challenge hey, you have this many seconds, sand coming out of a bottle to decide whether or not you're going to accept the challenge.
It was a disappointing
challenge. Obviously, she's yes. It's so funny seeing every single week how disappointed Sandra and Boston Rob are at the people who come to the island. They're so disappointed every single time. I always find that hilarious.
They haven't found any winners yet.
But the challenge was for during the next for the next game or whatever, that Elaine had to basically find a little parcel at the bottom of a table and sneak it off before anybody notices.
I think the real challenge was to try to make her not make rush decisions. I think that was actually the challenge of Island of the Idols. Because the bottle was the challenge. The sand bottle was totally the challenge.
There was never a chance that she would not have jumped at the opportunity. And I don't think
Who doesn't want an advantage, right? Who doesn't want an advantage in a vote?
I think the only person...
And she got to block a vote!
I think the only person who has actually taken a moment to think about whether or not they want to accept the challenge is, Kelly?
Yeah, she did. She took a moment. And they were disappointed in her, too.
Yeah, everyone they are, honestly, they're so disappointed every single week. But yeah, so Elaine takes the challenge. She goes back to her tribe and she tells...
Oh yeah, no, she goes back to her tribe and she tries to... So she has to, like Claire said, the goal is to get the little thing off the bottom of it. She goes and tells the Olympic swimmer girl, what's her name, Claire? The Olympic swimmer of Survivor. She goes and tells Survivor's Olympic swimmer contestant,
who has also been
to the island before, by the way, that all she has to do is grab this little thing out from under the table, just grab the thing out from under the table, and she'll get to block a vote, which is interesting. It's an interesting because they hadn't done the challenge yet at the time, and they had never really lost a challenge. So it wasn't necessarily a super exciting prospect to block the vote, but she got it and ended up turning into one of the biggest game changers of the season, if not the biggest.
Yeah, this is the first time that Tribal Council is actually really, really exciting to watch, and I don't know, it's been the best episode so far because of all the dynamics at play. We have really aggressive players in Vokai, and they really started to show their colors in this one episode because they're struggling right now because it had originally been an even 50-50 split for Vokai and then former Lyro.
Yep.
So people are trying to, tip the balance a little bit and see, when it comes time to merge, who's gonna stick with who.
That block vote, man. Yeah. That thing really swung. That was what swung Aaron, right?
Yeah. So I couldn't guess who was going to be voted out.
I thought it was going to be Elaine.
Elaine definitely had a target on her back, but I knew that there were going to be shenanigans. And you know what? With the way that the producers cut Survivor, you know that if they focus in on one player in particular the entire episode, which they focus on Elaine, you know that it's not going to be Elaine. Sorry. It's a little bit predictable with the way that they've been cutting
Elaine gets a lot of screen time, though, to her credit. Because she's entertaining. Elaine's got a lot of entertainment value.
But they've been cutting it in a certain way to make it seem that Elaine was kind of on the outs, that she had a target on her back, and that everyone was scheming against her. The way that they
were.
The way that
they were scheming against Elaine. Yeah. There was no doubt about that.
Yeah, but they really focused in on that and never really brought up the other side of that equation.
Well, the guy who was it that was running the ops against Elaine?
Jason.
Jason was really, and they had the physically strongest people. They were like, oh well, we have 5 and they have 3, so even if she blocks our vote,
but it wasn't
as long as you, Aaron, which he thought he was best friends with Aaron, from what I could tell, right?
Jason and Aaron?
Yeah, they thought they were really close. Oh, they acted like it.
Jason, I don't think Jason even was like the showrunner in that instance. I think that it was like all of the former Vokai their current Vokai, but like old Vokai coming together and being like, we have solidarity, and then waiting to see who they could flip.
Oh, but then there was that last minute scramble. You remember that?
Yeah.
They get to Final Tribal, and the Jason's group offers to draw rocks, which I'm not really sure how that concept works. I'm sure I've seen it before on Survivor. I guess it doesn't really happen that often. But he suggested that they all draw rocks, I guess, to see who was going to stay and who was going to go. But then Elaine pulls out her block vote and everyone starts scrambling and talking to each other and passing messages around, and you don't know what's going to happen. Aaron even looks at Jason and says, we're good, I'm going to vote for Elaine.
Aaron was 100% going to play them from the get-go. He was totally, overconfident.
Yeah.
He overconfidently
once Elaine showed him that thing, you could see it on his face. He was like, this is my group I'm going with.
I think, actually, I don't even think it was at that point where he felt like he was totally in with Elaine, because I think he was still making a decision. But I think when the former Vokai talked about drawing rocks, I think he sensed weakness there and felt like, you know what, No,
He didn't want to take
no.
that risk.
I think they.
Well, just
showed,
why
I think
would
they
you
showed-
do that?
I
Why
think
would
they
you ever
showed
do that
too
to
much
yourself?
weakness at Tribal Council by doing that. They showed that they were scared, and I think that was a moment that really lost it for them. So Aaron should have.
That was a cap, by the way. No, that makes total sense. Aaron should have actually been able to. I think Aaron
could have stuck with them, but I think he
I think he made the right decision.
But I think he made the right decision.
I think he made the right decision too. I think Aaron, he weighed his options there.
Yeah.
Obviously, that had shown a big shift in power, and frankly, the fact that he went with them is going to make Aaron a swing vote and going to make Elaine the powerhouse on that team. She's going.
Yeah.
Her and the Olympic swimmer girl are going to dominate that team now.
I think people are going to try really hard to put a target on Aaron's back, though. Which is,
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be difficult because.
But he's also the swing vote they need. That's what makes him interesting.
He's interesting, but he's also been one of the strongest, like, physical players in the group.
Oh, you don't want to lose him in the first half.
So
If you lose him in the first, if you lose him in the first half, your team's going to lose to Vokai every single time.
Yeah. So surprise win.
Or
for
Lyro. They're going to lose to Lyro every single time because
No.
he's the Vokai, right? Aaron's Vokai.
Aaron's Vokai. But I mean, Lyro really surprised me.
Yep.
So
Congratulations to Lyro.
Congratulations to Lyro. I still think they're lame. It's really, it's so much more interesting watching Vokai, and I'm glad we finally got to focus on them. Thankfully, I guess because Lyro won. Who would have known that it took...
They didn't win by athleticism, that's for sure.
Who would have thought that it would have taken Vokai losing to make the show interesting?
Yep. Thank you, Lyro, for pulling it off. You've been a great member on today's episode of Survivor with Ben and Claire.
Thanks, guys.
Dancing time, dancing party.
Follow our YouTube channel to watch our featured videos and original shows. See you there.